The concept of Deck of Ashes came to us quite some time ago. We wanted to make a game that would feel like an old-school game. One of our reference points was the Heroes of Might and Magic series. We also played a lot of card games, from Magic the Gathering to Thronebreaker. I should probably also mention Darkest Dungeon, because players always notice how similar our visual styles are. Then there's Slay the Spire, which is a more recent game, and we like it a lot as well. Basically, this mix of ideas is what makes the backbone of the Deck of Ashes.
Концепт Deck of Ashes.
Many employees of our studio are fans of classic games, especially RPGs of 80s and 90s. So we wanted to make something in that style, a dark fantasy game that doesn't handhold players too much, allowing them to make their own choices and find winning strategy in a constantly changing environment. Of course, we also pay attention to modern trends, and by blending them together, we came up with the Deck of Ashes. One of our main goals was to give a player a huge variety of choices. It's what we kept in mind while designing every aspect of the game. For example, we have a rather uncommon feature for a card game, an open world that you can explore, looking for resources and fights. We also try to make gameplay as varied as possible. That's why we introduced 2 decks. The eponymous Deck of Ashes is basically the cornerstone of our game. The cards that you've played in combat, they don't automatically return to your main deck afterwards. They remain in that Deck of Ashes. At the same time, many cards have unique mechanics that are active only while they're in the Deck of Ashes. So the players have not 1 but 2 decks, and they must learn to move cards from one deck to another with maximum efficiency. It's the most important feature of our gameplay, and it ties nicely into the general setting and the mood of the game. Since we're a new studio and it's our first game on such a large scale, we were anxious to get feedback from the players. Our initial goal was to make at least 1 playable character so we could start getting feedback from the community. We were planning to begin with Sly, since all other playable characters are members of the Outcasts gang, and he's the leader of that gang. So we thought he was ready to be released, and we started to work on our second character. But then we realized we weren't happy with Sly's gameplay. So Lucia the Pyromancer became our first playable character, and of course, we waited for the second part from you. And we spent more than 2 months reworking Sly before introducing him to the game. The hardest thing was to stop. There were so many features we wanted to add to the game before launching it into early access. More playable characters, more monsters, more cards, and so on. But we knew if we spread ourselves too thin, it would have a negative impact on quality, and our goal was to make a very solid game. So when the groundwork was laid, when the game was exciting to play, and you could complete the storyline of one character, that's when we decided that we were ready for the early access. We've been improving and adding new features ever since. We didn't really count on such a warm reception, but most players liked our game. We got a lot of feedback, even on the launch day. I remember that we stayed up all night answering questions and giving hints because the game didn't explain its mechanics too well back then. We were also writing down players' suggestions and, of course, bug reports. I think people really enjoyed that we were open to dialogue. There was a lot of positive feedback there. We're lucky to have such a great community. Players really helped us shape the game. For example, at a certain point, we realized that there is a demand for a longer game, so we introduced dungeons where players could engage in more fights and get more loot and build bigger decks. By popular demand, we've added potions and other one-shot items, as well as an entirely new gameplay mode, Badlands. Of course, there were also numerous balance adjustments, new boss mechanics, and so on. But the most important thing is that often players ask us for features that were already on our production schedule. It meant a lot to us. It was very reassuring. We knew that we're on the same page with our community and that the development of our game was going in the right direction. At this point, the game is basically complete. We've sent it to the publisher, and release is just a few days away. It will have a lot of new content, like fourth playable character with his own mechanics and storyline that will bring the plot of Deck of Ashes to the conclusion. We'll also change a few things. For example, our warrior Buck will get a new archetype. We'll also rebalance him a little according to the feedback from our community.
Желание нашего комьюнити.
Также ожидается...
We'll also add a Russian voiceover that our Russian community has often asked for. Furthermore, to thank our players that have been with us during early access, we've prepared the Day 1 edition of the game, which will include new digital art made specifically for the occasion and alternate character skins that give some gameplay bonuses. Everyone who already has Deck of Ashes will receive that additional content for free. The players who will buy the game within 2 weeks from the full release will also be automatically upgraded to the Day 1 edition.
по регулярной цене.
Мы смотрим на тех, кто уже...
When we see people playing Deck of Ashes, we know that our efforts haven't gone unnoticed. We hope that after we move from early access to the full release, new players will come and that they will also enjoy our interpretation of the collectible card game genre. We've poured blood, sweat, and tears into Deck of Ashes, and we're proud that we've managed to bring the project to fruition. Thank you, and we hope to see you in the game.
И увидимся в игре.